Welcome back to part 4 on fixing the John Cooper Works factory R53, and on today's video we're trying to get this back end sorted once and for all. Fuel tank back in, braided lines back in, and also we do start some work on the cosmetic side of things as well. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing, don't forget to leave a comment down below, and don't forget to like the video, it all helps. So let's get involved. Right, I did live stream some of this, but we're painting all along here. Brake lines are temporarily in place. We're just bolting up this subframe, which has been a bit of a ball ache to get in. Currently got the two main bolts in for the subframe at the moment. And if you look through there, that side is done up. This side we still need to do. So we've got the R56 subframe. It was 40,000 mile car. So nice and low. Not really any corrosion on it, which is what we wanted. So pop you in it. Just while we get some of this out of the way. We should have these two bolts on the top here. Or the strap top. And I may need to put a jack under the bottom. We'll see. It should mostly be in place, to be fair. Sort of. I can't remember which one of these I can I think it might be. Might be the extension. We'll have to go through and torque all these up at the end, but go down to it. Right. That needs to stay like that for now. And there we have it. Right. So I haven't actually filmed putting these brake lines in, only because it was raining and I got a bit aggy, primarily because someone had replaced this one here, which is the front left, and they used, I think it was a DIY job, and they cross-threaded it, so I've had to change the whole ABS pump. Now you can change the pumps over as long as the part number matches, so I've done that. Luckily I had a spare, so I put that in, and as you can see, I've put those in, dressed them all in a little bit, as you see with the top ones there. Go down under the car. They go to the master cylinder, and then you can see they come down here. And I've reused the OEM brake hoses for now. R56 subframe is in. We've run the braided lines down there, look. So they followed the OEM route. That right hand side one over there is, as with most of these kits, that one's a little bit short, so it can't follow the OEM route, but we can skip over the tank and then bring it back down to there. So I've just measured it out quickly to make sure that it's okay. So yeah, and we've under sealed all that back section there and the battery box. That's where we're at. So need some brake discs and get the fuel tank back in. Probably do that tomorrow. Now that we've got those lines in place. Moving on to getting the fuel tank in and lining this up and getting it into place on my own was a bit of a mission, and it's probably the only time I can think of where I'm glad I had an empty fuel tank. Now, if you even have a quarter of a tank, I would imagine it'd be extremely difficult to keep any type of balance. So if you do have fuel in a tank, make sure there's at least two of you there to get that tank held up into place while someone does the bolts up. Now, I'm going to try and get this vent hose and the overfill hose into place before mounting the tank. And if you remember in one of the earlier videos, we had to route the vent hose behind the fuel lines that come back from the engine bay. So that's what we're currently doing here, feeding through the holes in the chassis. And you can see I'm just trying to pull them out and get them into the arches. I'm not bothered about connecting them up at this point, but I just want to make sure they are in place. In a minute, what we'll do is get the jack with a big lump of wood. We're going to put it into the middle of the tank and then try and lift the tank up into position while also using the other hand to balance and trying to get a bolt into place. Now, there are 4 bolts on the straps. They're all 13mm. There's also one bolt at the front of the tank, which will help position it into place. So the magic of YouTube makes it look like this took about 5 minutes, but I can assure you it took quite a bit longer than that. Now, I'd managed to get the first bolt in, which is central to the tank and is just above the exhaust tunnel. Once this was into place, I moved the jack and the block of wood out, and then I slid underneath and just rested the tank on my chest. Now, this is relatively simple when the tank is empty, but again, if it is full or if it's even quarter full, you will struggle for balance. So make sure that there's 2 of you there, 1 for each side. At this point, all I needed to do now was get the tank straps into place. Now the tank straps are sided. There's a longer side and a shorter side, so make sure that you get them the right way around. And again, the R56 subframe has exactly the same mounting points for these tank straps as the R53. So it's an excellent swap for anyone that's considering to do it. The only bits that you need to look at really on this subframe are the rear calipers and the handbrake cable. But as you can see, we're making some real progress and the tank is now into place. I'm fitting the bigger heat shield that goes above the exhaust boxes, and I need to remove the 2 10mm bolts for the heat shield for the fuel tank, which is what I'm doing at the moment. Now the microphone had died at this point, so I'm going to quickly talk you through what we were doing and how we went about it. So we need to drop this down just slightly so that our bigger heat shield can slot underneath it. And I'd bought some new washers for the heat shielding from Vehicle Clips. I'll put a link in the description below because they are significantly cheaper than they are from BMW, but they're just as good quality. At this point, I just needed to line up the heat shielding. Now, this bigger one from BMW, I think was £58 in total, and you can see it's quite a substantial size compared to that smaller one there. and then we just need to slot it around the battery box. So the heat shielding for the exhaust boxes needs to go on first before the heat shielding for the battery box goes on. And as you can see, I'm just trying to work out how this slots in. So to begin with, I wasn't sure whether it went under or on top of that existing heat shield, but quickly worked out it should slot underneath it just by the way that it sits. So quickly drop it down, move it, and then pop it back up again. So what I'll do is I'll time lapse this a little bit just to move it on, and then I'll cut back in and show you at the end what the result looks like. So the majority of the washers are in place now, and there are two small arch lining clips that go into the back of the heat shield and that go into the rear reinforcement bar. So I'm just fitting the passenger side one now. The driver's side one's already been fitted, and they just push into place. So they're easy enough to fit. What I'll do is I'll show you what they look like and just give you a little bit of an overview of the actual heat shielding in place itself. And then once this is all done, we can then put the battery box surround heat shield back into place as well. That one, we will do some similar little squares that I showed you earlier on the fuel tank, because there's some corrosion on the battery heat shielding, but there's not enough to warrant replacing them. And here you can see those plastic arch lining clips to hold the heat shielding into the reinforcement bar. So there are two of them, one on the driver's side and one on the passenger side. And you can see with both those new heat shields in place, it's looking pretty good up there. We just need to get the exhaust hangers sorted and into place, and they mount on top of that heat shielding. So the heat shield needs to go in first, and then the hangers can go in. So let's get on with that as well.
In true Mini fashion, the exhaust hanger bolts have snapped here. You can see the studs sticking through the floor. So let's get on to drilling them out, and I'll show you how I do this, just in case you get the same problem.
So I use cobalt drill bits. These are the ones that I use from Bosch. Any will do. They're quite expensive. I think they were about 40 quid. You're going to start off here with an 8. And we just want to
Go into the center where that is, roughly. Start off slow. Doesn't have to be exact, it just needs to be in the right place.
if you stop occasionally, what you might have to do if you're going to keep going and you're going to have a high speed is just get some oil or some cutting fluid. Just put it on the end every now and then to cool it down a little bit. Once you've got started, like this, you can go up to like a 10 or a 9. But so let me time lapse this part and we'll cut back in after. And you can see how far along we've got. Right. once the holes are through, like here and over here, we're going to have loads of these like little filings left. So you need to hoover them out, because if your boot is prone to water, as unfortunately these cars do suffer from, all of this will exacerbate any rust that you've got, or it will certainly make it all look orange. So plus it's not a good idea to leave all that in the back of the car. So let's get all this out of here. Give it a bit of a clean up. Put this back on while we're here as well. Nearly. I'll tighten that up when it comes to putting the car back together. Right, get the hoover, get all that cleaned up. So all we've done is just coat them in there. Look, you see where the old hangers used to be, and I painted inside the holes, and obviously where the bracket goes itself, and that'll just protect it from any issues in the future. I'm sure you can probably buy these brackets here with the studs on, but you probably have to be able to spot weld it into place, and obviously all the plastics in, you have to take all them out. So this does the job, and it's quite a common fix. So yeah, we'll just get some nuts and bolts, put it through, job done. And the same thing, the microphone stopped working at the same time as we took the rear bumper off as well. So I removed the rear bumper to do the decals on the back, and also to make it a bit easier fitting the exhaust. So I'm just pointing out that there is a Phillips screw underneath the arch lining here. There is a 8mm bolt under that bracket, and also you need to remove these little bump stops for the boot, which are held on by Phillips screws that screw into the sides down here. There's one on each side. Also, when you take the bumper forward, you do need to remove the parking sensors. So I've got the PDC system on here, and also the fog light. So I've had to unplug all of those. Now, the problem with the rear bumper is that the rear decals are original, and I didn't realise quite how tough they would be. So you can see these are really like broken up in places, but the part in the middle is set like concrete. I'm really struggling to get them off. I've probably put about 2.5 hours in so far, and I've only managed to do the left hand side. The right hand side I'm still struggling with, because as I'm trying to break it up to get it off, I'm only getting very, very tiny pieces of it coming apart, rather than it coming off in one whole big piece. So if anyone's got any ideas on how to remove that, please put them in the comments below, because I'm starting to lose the will to live trying to get this off. You can see even there little pieces of it are breaking off. I've tried using hot water and just letting it sit in there to try and loosen the glue up. I've tried to use a hairdryer on there. I don't really want to use a heat gun because I think that'd be too hot. But yeah, any ideas, pop them in the comments, because I need all the help I can get with this. So I've been saying for ages how I want to bleed the brakes before putting the exhaust in, and the reason for that was because the handbrake cables sit above the heat shielding, above the exhaust. However, Simon paid me a visit. He dropped off a brand new set of rear brake discs and a couple of other parts as well. So a massive thank you to you. I know you'll be watching. I've managed to get those brake discs in place, get the handbrake cable nice and tight. So I'm quite happy now to get the exhaust into place. And the exhaust is from tip to manifold. I took the whole thing off in one piece. So here you see me slide down to the car to try and get it into place. So let me show you some of the video of me trying to position this exhaust with a couple of jacks, and then I'll cut back in and I'll explain a bit more. So you can see me sliding the exhaust along the floor just to try and get it into place, and because the exhaust manifold sticks up quite high up at the front, you can see me just dropping the aircon condenser out of the way in a minute to try and give myself a little bit more space to get it in. Now I put a clear bag over the exhaust manifold end, and that's because the lambda sensor plugs are inside that bag where it's been stored. I didn't want them getting wet for obvious reasons. The problem with the exhaust coming off in one big piece is just the sheer size of it makes it really difficult to try and get it back into place. So my plan is to line it up roughly, get a couple of jacks underneath it, one on the tailpipes and one in the midsection where the resonator is, and then basically just try and lift it and hover it into place. So I'll skip out the midsection just to not bore you with lining up, but at this point what I've managed to do is get the exhaust manifold to sit up behind the engine, and now I'm using the big jack to jack up under the resonator at the front, and that's got a rubber pad on it so it's not going to cause any damage. You can see me just sliding underneath and then jacking that part up. Then I'm going to get the smaller jack and I'm going to use a block of wood and lift up the tailpipes from the rear to make the exhaust basically float in the air, and then all I need to do is get that support plate in the middle, bolt it up, and then that will help hold it all in place, and then just mount it at the rear. With the exhaust manifold, I'm going to get that on as well, but I'm going to show you a quick trick on how I do this with the gasket, because otherwise it makes it a bit of a faff around trying to get them 10mm exhaust manifold bolts in with the exhaust manifold sort of knocking around. So I'll show you a quick trick with that in a minute as well. But yeah, I'll time lapse this section just to get it through, but basically the exhaust is now back in place. Most of the bolts are back in place, so the hangers on the driver's side is back in. The two inner supports both have the 30mm bolts back in there as well, and I'm just lining up the last exhaust hanger on the passenger side, which is what you can see I'm trying to do here. I thought I would just quickly cut in though, only at this point, to show you how I positioned the rear jack with that block of wood, and you saw the other larger jack at the front end under the resonator. If you have an exhaust put on your car, this is a good way to do it if you do have two jacks, because it hovers the whole exhaust in the air, and all you got to do is just gently move it from side to side to get the mounting points lined up, and then you're good to go. So I just thought I'd quickly cut in and show you that, and let's get on to fitting the rest of the exhaust. The hangers are all in place now, as you can see. The outer and inner ones are there. The battery box heat shielding is in place as well. The full exhaust system is mounted up. I just need to do the exhaust manifold, but you can see it's all lined up. It's not touching any heat shields. It looks great. The exhaust tips do need a good clean, but as the rear bumpers off, we can do those before we put that back on. So I've lined the exhaust manifold up. As you can see, it's not bolted into place yet, and it's a bit loose on the back. And we also need to get an exhaust manifold gasket in there as well, which is quite difficult because you can't really see a huge amount from the top. So I'll show you a quick trick on how I get these exhaust manifold gaskets into place. So I line the exhaust manifold gasket up against the exhaust manifold, put a couple of cable ties through, like you can see in the video now. Once I've got a few bolts in the manifold into the head, I then cut the cable ties, pull them out, and then put the rest of the bolts in, and it makes it a lot easier. And the final step is just to make sure that all the bolts are torqued to the manufacturer's specifications, which in this case for the exhaust manifold bolts is 24 Newton meters. You can see we're just using the small 1/4 inch torque wrench, going around and just making sure they're all nice and tight. So I'm not sure how easy it is to see, but there is a bracket down here, there, and that should be through that bolt there for the starter motor. So again, it looks like someone's had the gearbox off and just not put that back on properly. And also, there's a heat shield missing down here as well, which I've not taken out. That covers the starter motor and goes into the filter housing over there. So you see that little hole? Show a little tiny 10mm bolt that goes in there, so that's missing as well. So that is basically what is holding up now, putting the subframe back on. So I'm going to try and sort that out. It's down here. I'm trying to sort that out now. I've given my mate a call who breaks minis, and I've asked him if he's got that heat shield. He said he has, but obviously it's just a case of him getting down here or me meeting up with him. But yeah, that's where I'm currently at. So that's what's holding up the rest of it. Unfortunately, because that heat shield can't go in and the subframe can't go on, can't really do the brakes either because I need the discs on the front, and I also need the front can't remember the words out now. The near side strut, because obviously we're going to change that over as well. And he's got that. So I'm waiting for those parts at the moment. And once they turn up, hopefully we can crack on and get it all back together. And there you go, just to show you. That's how it should be. So that bracket's now in place. And you can see the wiring clips under it like that. And that just stops it from floating around. So yeah, that's how it should be. Now all we need to do is get the heat shield. It goes over to all this. And then the subframe can go back on. Right. This is going to seem a little bit counterproductive, but I want to take the seat out to get the armrest and that in nicely. And I want to show you guys how, well, just basically show you what we're doing. So I'm going to take the seats out, both the front, and store them. That also helps us because we want to clean the car at the end anyway. The trick to these is not to have the battery connected when you remove the seats. So the 4 bolts are out. I need to tilt the seat back just to get to the underplug connectors. Underplug, under seat. And feed them through there, like so. Put that forward. Let's get out of the way. So, let's move that over here. For now. Gives us a good look under the seat. That's a bit weird because this doesn't have a sat nav, but that is the plate for a sat nav. There is no sat nav under the seat. There's no disk drive in there, so yeah, it's a bit weird. I don't actually think I've seen that before. I wonder if that's on all like late cars. If anyone knows, say it in the comments. Because that's the plate that will go over the disk drive for the sat nav on the late cars. There's nothing in there. So yeah, a bit weird that. Yeah, let me know. Anyone else got that? And we do the same on the passenger side as well. So now we've got a bit of space. They are T40s, but if you're using a Halfords kit, which I do for most things, the advanced ones, only because if you break the tools, they replace them. These are terrible. They break all the time. And it's because they have that security Torx bit, a little hole in the middle. I don't know why they just don't do a kit without it. And if you want the security ones, order them separately. Honestly, the amount of these that I go through, I'm pretty much a regular at the Halfords now, changing them out. So yeah, do the same on this side as well. So let's just get them out. Now, you can impact these in and take them out with the impact driver. However, as I was saying to you before, these security Torx bits are rubbish. I impact them, that noise to the ugga dugger, I think that just weakens them, and they're not really designed to be used with that, to be fair. It's just me being lazy. So it doesn't matter. I know people will sit there and go, well, that's probably why you're breaking them. It's not, because I can use a ratchet like I'm doing now and they'll still break. They're just rubbish. I'm not going to hoover this out at the moment either, because there's no point. It's where we're climbing in and out of it and all this sort of stuff. We might as well do it at the end. Also, I've got something cool to show you in a minute as well. That I picked up from Torque Monkey or Modamini, which I saw and I was debating because it was a little bit pricey. Well, they're pricey in my opinion because I'm tight. But we'll have a look at that in a sec as well, because I am denied about it. But I do need a new one because I broke the other one by accident. Well, I didn't break it; it fell apart. Let me get this out. Here we have it. So the dress is off, but nicely packaged as always. Get the knife. Put you on it through there. Being lazy. Right. This is cool. Right, again, I'll leave a link in the description. I think Modamini posts worldwide, so if you are watching from somewhere else in the world, you might be able to get one of these as well. Or maybe your local wholesaler sell them, who knows. Check this out. Oh, and then they didn't give me this, I did buy it before anyone started to think. Check that out, look. Little keychain holder. And look at that. That's cool, isn't it? Bit geeky. But, you know. So they do ones for 53, 56, and I think it's the F56. Yeah, I like that. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll leave a link down below. Yeah, cool. Right. Anyway, that's enough of stuff I bought myself. The armrest is in the back. Grab that. This armrest has a. In fact, I'll go on the other side. I'll just film this side. Has a phone thing inside it, which obviously won't work nowadays. But it has the wiring for it as well. Now, I always thought it slid back. I don't want to break it though. I mean, I'm half tempted to cut it because it's no use, but it goes with the car, so. Right. Where's the rest of the bits that we need? There. Right. Let's zip them out. Okay, this is where we're at. So if you do have the phone, I don't even know what it is. Hands-free kit, maybe? Very early hands-free kit. There is an antenna in the bottom here. And that has the wiring off of here going into it, and then there's a little loom under here as well, which you can see there. Now, I'm guessing because it's a late car, this has been factory fitted rather than retrofitted. So, what we don't want to do is ruin that gator. because that actually looks in reasonable condition. Speed that up a bit like so. There we go. Get all that into place. Like so. There is a little clip that holds some of the wiring down there in place. And then we have 4 10mm bolts. So let me just go and get the toolkit. Let's start with the getting the frame into place. So we are 10mm to 10mm. Of course you do that. Oh, that was smooth. That was smooth. Oh, I forgot to mention, handbrake cables are in. They get adjusted on this 10mm here. But yeah, I put them in place. I did them the other day, but I didn't think it was worth filming it because it's quite a simple process. But obviously, if you get stuck and you need a guide for that, put it below, and I will do it next time I have handbrake cables to do, because they are a bit of a ball ache to get in, mainly because they go above that heat shield for the fuel tank that I showed you in the last video, and they clip into the fuel tank. So yeah, if you do need a guide, let me know and I'll sort it out next time I do one. In the meantime, oh, did that go on? Did you go in? Of course you didn't go in, did you? These ones here are well deep. There we go. You can probably use a tiny magnet, but the problem is I think when you got to lift it up, it will come off again. So I'll just use a little screwdriver. Line them up. Job's a good one. Right, there we go. Right, now, where's it gone? Oh, there it is. That clips into there. That clips into there. What's that clip into? Oh, that's the. Sorry, this little white one is the tire pressure system to reset it. The big one and the aerial one here are for the phone. So yeah, I sat there and I was wondering what's going on. But yeah, that is right. So next is, I think they're T30s. This is the armrest bit. So that sort of sits in like that. And then there are 2 or 3 go in the front here. Let's get them in place. They are T30s. T30s. That's the first one. Again, lining these up shouldn't really be a problem because we're doing it from above. If the seats were in, it might be a bit more awkward, but you can see from the state of it that it needs a good clean. So normally weather dependent, because we are a bit of funny time of year. We'll get like a carpet cleaner in here and air it all out. Give it a good clean with some proper carpet cleaner. Got a little vac spot wash thing, especially down the footwells. But to be fair to the garage, they did a reasonable job of cleaning it. It looks quite clean. Obviously, under the seats, not so much, but I don't expect them to take the seats out. That's asking a bit too much, isn't it? Yeah, I've got to be reasonable and all that. Right. There's a little gap there you slide that into. Oh. And then there is a little section for the aerial cable that can go in there as well. And that's how it sits. And then you have the tyre pressure monitoring system part there. So yeah, get in there. Now we need the big bit of the frame. Just get rid of some of this. I found £1 32p. It's a rich man. I am a rich man. So any of you watching think there's loads of money doing this sort of thing? You're right. I've made a whole £1.32. Just pop that up there. I'll pop the tyre pressure switch out for a sec. Again, good time to clean because you can see this is a bit disgusting as well. There we go. That's fine. There we go. Down there like that. And it should all clip into place, like so. It's sounding good. Right, let's go in front. Right, this one is the same. Yeah. Wait, that is a result. There you go. How much luck I'm having. And while you're watching me going through this pain of this Mini, only 12% of people subscribe that watch these videos. So if you're enjoying it, I mean, I wasn't planning on doing any videos, to be fair, but now I started doing them, people are showing some interest in them. It'd be great if you could subscribe because it just shows that it's worth doing. And if it's worth doing, I'll do some more on other cars. I've actually got a really rare R52. And when I say really rare, I think it's probably a unicorn car, which I will show you on the channel only if there's interest in it. So if you're interested in potentially probably one of the rarest R52s I think I've ever seen. And I'm not over exaggerating when I say that. It's rare because of the amount of stuff that it's got on it, not the actual car itself, because R52s are just everywhere. Then yeah, let me know. And I'll do a video on that after we finish this one. So, anyways, let's get back to this. Twist that around slightly. Yeah, boy. Yes. Nice. Right. This little connector back in. There we go. Also, while we're on it, there's a little blank on this side, which is in place here. Most of the time, they're missing. Why are they missing? Like, who wants that? Who wants that? Do you know what I mean? They're constantly not there. And you don't think you can buy that blank. If anyone knows the part number for the blank on the center console, let me know, because people keep asking me about them. I get them, but not from BMW. I end up just taking them off of cars that are like broken, or like the center console, because no one wants to buy the center console, but they do want to buy that bit. So yeah, very strange. Right. So I keep doing that. That's very annoying. Right. Keep the money in there. Center console is in. Handbrake is working nicely. Happy days. Thanks so much for watching, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and don't forget to leave a comment below. Next time we're going to get that back bumper back on, get the decals into place, get the front subframe on, and hopefully we can start doing some of the cosmetic work as well. So join me on the next video.